Good evening, everybody out there. This is the fourth draw of the day, the final round-robin draw for the women. We have Team MacDonald throwing first with blue rocks, and we also have Team Madden throwing second with yellow rocks. Looks like that first stone thrown by the Team MacDonald lead ends up in the back 12 foot. It's interesting to see how these ladies start. It looks like Team Madden's calling for the hit of that back rock. I don't mind that strategy, given that it's a late game. It's good to get acclimatized to the ice, and I think that's why, part of the reason of why we're seeing this sort of strategy being implemented.
Well, you had the intro from Ryan, so you might as well get an intro from me as well. Welcome back to the U18 Orion Slam here in Dundas Valley Golf and Curling Club. And no, it's Golf and Curling Club, as Rob Matheson tells us, and that is the name of the club. So you're going to see an open first end, which is different than what we've seen in the last 900 draws that we've commentated this weekend. But it's a good adjustment.
Yeah, it sure feels that way, Sam. It's been a while, but the quality of curling has definitely kept us entertained as we see
It's been a fun weekend so far, and it's nice to see an open first end. Team Madden looks like he's just rolled out of the rings. And for Team MacDonald, looks like they're going to make me bite my tongue, and they're going to throw a center guard here. So, aggressive right out the bat. I like it.
So it looks like on the Team Madden score sheet that the coach wanted to get the credit for the team's weekend results so far, as Paul put himself as both the coach and the skip. So it was an interesting strategy by the coach, and we'll see how that works out.
As you can see with that shot, it changed rotation halfway down the ice and changed kind of back. It was kind of a interesting way of getting the rock in the top 4 foot like they wanted to. We've talked to Rob about how he likes his ice being release sensitive, and I think for the future, for Team MacDonald, for Zoe to throw that stone, we'll just add an extra rotation or two, and you won't see that happen anymore. You'll see the stone kind of gradually go to the center line, as we've seen all weekend. And for Team Madden, trying to hit and stick here, and it looks like we're going to get a... Oh, it did not roll out, and it hit the brakes on it, and it's staying in the rings. That's a big hit and stick. So for Team MacDonald, you're seeing Zoe play the freeze here, it looks like. And like we just talked about, we want to see that good around 3 rotations on the stone, just so the rock doesn't over curl. And it looks like she did put a little bit more rotation on the stone, and it's going towards that back yellow one, and it just looks like it's a little hot. So they're hoping that it hits the brakes just like Madden's stone did. I did like how much ice Team MacDonald took there.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, Sam. And I think as well as this ice is release sensitive, I think it's just as much weight sensitive. And it's important when you're throwing those shots to bring your sweepers into play. And it's early ends, and the ladies are still adjusting, so it's totally normal to see a shot like that.
And this last women's draw, this last live stream of the round robin, is similar to the last men's live stream where we're seeing a 3-0 team in Team Madden play a team that is hungry for their first win in Team MacDonald, being at 0-3. I think you're going to see, just like what Mayville did, you're going to see a chip on their shoulder to try to get that first win of the weekend.
Yeah, and to put the MacDonald's standings into context, they've all had really close games. And it's just like we saw with Team Mayville, sometimes it's a shot here, a shot there, maybe not the best end, and that's just how precise and accurate all of these teams are here. Looking for the hit, just a little over curl there, but
and that's the trend we've seen on that side, and especially in that mid 8 foot zone on that left side. We've seen it's a tricky spot. Some teams have tried to go inside out into that stone, and it's a lot straighter than they expected. And the teams that have tried to go outside in have been shocked of how much it actually curls there with the control weight hit that Team MacDonald just threw. And for Violet here, her goal is to put it even in the 8 foot, right across from the other yellow, really split the house, and keep putting the pressure on Team MacDonald to make a nice hit and roll. Looks like the sweepers are backing up from this, calling it heavy.
Do you think there's an audible here, Sam? Is that side rock coming into play?
I'm going to say no.
Good call.
It did stick around, and if you're Team MacDonald, you have two choices. You either throw for Sam, great name by the way. You either throw the same shot which they decided to do and try to roll towards those other yellows, or you can play that nose hit in the back.
Yeah.
So for Sam, her main goal here is to adjust and try and get rid of this yellow stone. And a great adjustment.
Yeah, great shot there by Sam. And
they're definitely second shot.
Yeah, it's close for first shot, but it might be Madden on the right side.
Yeah, and for Team Madden, they're going to decide, as I just talked about for MacDonald, they're going to decide to play this hit inside out. And I think they're going to notice, I'm not sure if they've watched any of the live streams, but for Violet, kind of being the guinea pig here, they're going to notice how this inside out is a little bit straighter than what most people expect.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is...
I'm going to learn for the Team Madden fans to bite my tongue.
Yeah, when you make that observation.
But you know what? This is the first end. They're going to adjust to that. They're going to see that right after that one shot, they're going to see that is a little bit straighter than it seems.
No, exactly, Sam. And I think that's one of the benefits to playing this open style in the first end, or even in the first couple ends, just to kind of adjust to the ice surface. Maybe this sheet reads a little bit differently than other sheets across the ice, and I'm sure they both have a similar amount of curl, but it's never a bad thing to take the time and adjust, and that's what this strategy lends to. Which is
for the viewers back home who have only really seen sheet 2, because that is the only sheet we're live streaming, to state the obvious. Rob Matheson has all 5 of these sheets very similar.
Yes.
And very accurate in the draw. So you should see a lot of close draws because they've been playing draw weight all weekend. And this seems to be coming in and a very good sweep here by Zoe, and tried to bring it over there, tried to make a curl, and it just didn't quite curl enough for them. So I think for Team Madden, you're going to see the adjustment. Looks like they tighten the ice up, and for Violet holding the broom here, she's going to see how straight it is.
Mm-hmm. I like the ice adjustment here by Team Madden. Yeah, by Jenny and Violet holding the broom for her. It's good to see that adjustment in ice. Just have to see what the stone.
And for Jenny's sake, as we made the joke, we're not going to call her Paul.
Yes.
That's what we originally stated, but now they do make the adjustment. They do hit it out.
Mm-hmm.
And now they really see how much straighter that is, and they're going to even adjust even more so they hit and stick next time. But goal number 1, get rid of that blue stone, and that's what they did. And for Team MacDonald, I like that they're calling the freeze. It looks like they've moved the broom in a little more because they've had 2 stones where it's undercurled. And so for Sam holding the broom, she's moved it in a little bit more just so if they are that little bit heavy, they will get to the backing. For Asia, they're coming up short, but you are shot stone. And yes, there's a lot of space, but for Team Madden, they're going to have to hit it.
Yeah, and I like the location of that, Sam, because we haven't seen. Have we seen one hit, or have we seen? I don't know if we've seen.
We haven't seen a hit on this side of the sheet.
Yeah, exactly. So
in
it's
this draw. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always a good thing to have. To force your opponent to throw that different side.
Path.
Yeah, a new path and see what happens.
Yeah, for Asia, that was a great adjustment from her 7 stone to her 8 rock.
Yeah.
Because now, yeah, you're making Team Madden throw at this stone where we've seen this side. I'm not going to say it before she releases the stone.
Yeah, we'll just look at each other until she sends it. Stare deep into my eyes.
We've seen this side run a little straighter.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting to see. I like how much rotation they've thrown. It just means they throw a nice solid stone, and it looks like it's moving out. And they're definitely making contact, and just a roll out, but mission accomplished for Team Madden getting their deuce in the first end.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that we've talked about before. One of the pros to having this sort of more open style of a start is that there's that opportunity for what we call a soft deuce, and I think that's what Madden just received there. So, but there's tons of game left to play, tons of points left out on the ice still to be had by both teams. So it'll be interesting to see what this end builds up like.
Yeah, for Team Madden, obviously with playing the scoreboard, you're going to want to put this top 4 foot and really put this rock in a good position to set up the end perfectly. And for Team MacDonald, it's only the first end. Yes, you're down 2. I would like to see a corner guard here, but be don't get caught up in being too aggressive. Make sure you score. And that's what we saw. Team Malima, they were chasing in that last draw for most of the game.
Yeah.
And they finally got that 3 and the 7 to tie it.
Yeah.
And they were just patient. And it's good to see patience. And a big sweep here by Violet. And it does get into the rings.
Yeah, and that's really important that Violet helped Zephrine out and brought that rock into the rings. It looks like we're seeing a hit being called by Asia, asking Sid to remove that rock and maybe roll over a bit to the open side, Sam?
Yeah, and to shut out this team, probably the fewest letters in the first name across all the teams in here. And we have Sid, you have Zoe, you have Sam, and you have Asia. Asia being the longest name on the team.
Huge shout out. They're doing everything they can to make our lives easier, and we appreciate that.
Welcome to Fun Facts from the Curling Masters. We can bring the segment on if you like it.
Yeah. Please email Byron Scott if you would like fun facts with the Curling Masters to become a part of our broadcast. Just to circle back to the game there, it's good to see that Team MacDonald was able to remove that rock that was placed there by Zephrine with the help of Violet. It was good to see that they removed it, and there's nothing wrong with the rollout there.
Absolutely not.
And I don't mind this.
Like we talked about, they're being patient.
Exactly.
And I think that's definitely was their game plan going into this game.
Mm-hmm.
They know that they're playing a team that is 3-0, that is one of the stronger teams in the field, and you really want to be patient and get that deuce when you can. And now that Team Madden Stone has slipped into the back eight, it'll be interesting, and they do decide to hit, which, like we just talked about, being patient, keeping the score close for when you can attack in that 6th, 7th, 8th, and really put the pressure on.
No, and I think that element of patience is something to speak to, Sam. There's a lot of high-scoring, aggressive play throughout this tournament, but there's also nothing wrong with playing a little bit more of a defensive strategy, playing it a little bit closer to the chest, and just inviting your time for the right opportunity to strike.
Yeah, and a big sweep by Sam here, and I like to say that she just does have the best name on the ice.
Well, Sam definitely did enough there to help out her teammate, Sid, I believe, to get that hit and stick. And that rock is in a location where it's a little tricky.
We haven't seen a hit in this spot, I don't think, out of all 800 draws. Well, not 900. We'll go with 800 this time.
Okay. We'll downplay it a little. 800, but...
I like the ice they're taking. Yes, the side probably moves here, but Isabella's goal here is to hit granite, and Violet is sweeping hard as
to hold that rock,
to hold that stone, because it's kind of opposite of what we've seen. Both sides, the one side inside out is a little straighter, and that inside out curls a little more, and we just saw that. So for Team MacDonald, patience pays off, and as the stat we've been talking about throughout this whole weekend is makes after misses. So for MacDonald, being one of the youngest teams in the field, this is an important stat that they're going to learn to see how important it is.
Yeah, as they develop.
And for Zoe here, obviously first goal hit paint, but if you are going to miss a tolerance, a corner guard is nothing wrong with a corner guard here.
No, I was just going to say that, Sam. I think just throwing to that tolerance is something that you can keep in the back of your head when you're throwing this shot. It looks like the sweepers are calling a little bit heavy here, but I think it's starting to come down.
Yeah, it looks like Sam's staying close, and it's really catching that curl. So the way great shot.
No, that's a great shot. I like how far apart those two rocks are. They've split the rings and forced Madden to try to maybe hit and roll over to group them together to be able to play some sort of double at them.
And just like Team Madden in the first end, Team MacDonald put that blue stone where we've seen that 8-foot be a little tricky and very release sensitive. So it'll definitely be good for Isabella to bounce back from her first stone and make a nice shot here. And a big sweep here by Zephrine. And just an overcurl.
Yeah, I think that just is the trend that we have seen on that throwing that piece of ice, no matter if it's a high weight shot, low weight shot, in between finesse shot, you just get a little bit more extra movement than you see on the other side. And I think we're seeing Asia call a corner guard for that stone that was just put there by Zoe, I believe.
And I like that. It looks like Team MacDonald had a game plan going into this game, and they're really trying to be patient. And now that they've gotten that miss, they're going to want to try and capitalize on that and put this corner guard in a good spot, because they know that that blue one in the 8-foot is their counter, right? It's in a great spot. So Sam is calling a little heavy here. So we'll see if the Crow can catch this one and see where they decide to put this rock.
I just want to point out, Sam, it's good to see sweepers cleaning the rock. I really like to see that just as a spectator watching this rock take its course. It's the last thing you need is one of those stones to pick.
Absolutely.
And it's good to see just clear the dust in front of the stone. And you're ready if your skip calls you on.
If I'm Team MacDonald, I'm perfectly fine with that stone slipping into the 12-foot.
I agree.
It's hard to argue sitting 3 is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So for Violet, big shot here in the second end. It looks like she's coming in with a normal weight, and Green has been head down sweeping the whole way.
She's done a decent job at holding it. And
a great shot.
Yeah, that's what the doctor ordered.
Yeah.
So the pressure.
Violet said, "You know what, guys? I got this. I'm going to make the double here."
Yeah. and that's
a great sweep by Zephyrin to hold that stone.
Yeah, definitely a team shot there, and it's good to see shots like that this early on in the season. And up for Sam now is that hit and stick, and it'll be. Have we seen a hit down the center line yet, Sam?
This draw? No.
Yeah, so I think it'll be interesting to see how the ice reacts moving down the
It's like a big sweep here. Try and hold it. Looks like it's just over.
Yeah.
And just for learning purposes, as we talked about, making sure we get that 2-3 rotations on a rock, and that's gonna make you more accurate when it comes to hits like that, and when it comes to swingy ice like this. And you know, that did overcurl, and we'll see the adjustment by Team MacDonald next time they try and make this hit. For Violet, focusing on, yes, I just made that double, but the job's not done. I need to make this inside out hit and make sure this blue stone disappears, and it looks like it's going to be a big sweep by Isabella to hold this.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of movement out there, Sam, eh?
And just rolls out.
It was a great effort by Isabel to try to keep that rock as straight as possible.
Yeah. And for Asia, she says, throw it the same, I'm going to give you more ice. And I like that adjustment for Team MacDonald.
Yeah, it's always good for a skip to say, know what, if you give me the same, I'll ice you accordingly.
So just a rock that overcurled, and for Team Madden, I like that they're being maybe a little aggressive here, even though we had an open end, and put this in the top 4, top button area, and can put the pressure on Team MacDonald to make a good shot.
Yeah, exactly. And just like we've said on many draws previously, it's just all about that application of pressure here, and that's really what this sport is about. And I just wanted to say, it's great to see Team MacDonald. Yes, you didn't get the outcome that you wanted for those 2 stones, but I'm seeing that positive body language, those fist pumps, high fives, trying to lift the spirits, and they know there's a lot more game to play. And it's good to see that a shot here or there isn't going to faze them.
And I think we've seen a trend in the last 2 end of Zephyrin sweeping. Yeah. She's working hard to get Jenny Stone into the rings, and that was a really good sweep.
Yeah,
And I think that's another thing that we've seen is that the sides of the sheet is the curling side that's curling about 1.5 feet more is also 1.5 feet slower, right? Because that's what you have to accumulate how much curl it has. So Jenny will put that in the memory bank for the next time she draws down that side. And for Team MacDonald, big draw here.
Yeah, and Sam, I don't mind the draw here because if you look at where that top yellow rock is positioned, if you hit that, I don't think you're going to be in the rings. And I think from what I've seen of games about Team MacDonald, they're more of a finesse team. So play to your strengths and sink one in there and force Team Madden to make a difficult shot.
Yeah, I agree. I like this call. It's just a confidence call, and for a young skip, this is a young team. They just aged out of U15. It's confidence, and that's what you like to see from Asia here. She just put the broom down. She said, "This is what I want to play," and the sweepers are backing off this, so they're hoping that it catches the curl.
I think it's coming down a bit, Sam. It's curling on that curl side.
Sweeping hard to get it by. Just gets it by, and what a great shot.
What a great judgment by the sweepers.
Yeah.
To see how the rock was curling down the sheet and feel confident enough to leave it. It's overall a great team shot. Love to see those broom taps and bring that positivity back.
Yeah,
and
shots like that are such a team shot, as you just said, and to execute that in the second end is a great shot. And for Team Madden, the way they lined up these two top 12 draws,
yeah,
they're kind of queued up.
They are,
is what you would say. And hit this right on the nose, just off nose. Those yellows are kind of going right back to that blue stone.
I agree, Sam. I think the only thing Madden needs to worry about for this shot is they're throwing the turn that curls a little bit more. So keeping that in mind, it would be nice to see more of a positive release, maybe a little bit more weight just to adjust accordingly. Oh, we just saw them move the broom out a little, and I like that.
It's almost like they heard you.
I know. I swear, I'm not that loud.
It is thick glass.
It is. And I see that the rotations coming from that rock, and it's quite crisp.
I just like for other teams watching, maybe there's some younger teams, you saw that Isabel was staying close to that stone and being ready to sweep. Even though they weren't being called on, you were just ready to sweep and hold that stone for the skipper like she just did. And for Team MacDonald, it's the same draw. It's a draw for one. But it's a team shot. Let's keep this game a 1-point game like we've talked about. Looks like their game plan was patience.
Yep.
And it's the exact same draw. And for Asia, same weight she just threw.
No, exactly, Sam. And I think if you're taking this patient approach, it's really mature, considering how aggressive everyone is. I think it might just be the strategy that they prefer. But the skipper here, Asia, she has the same shot, and they're calling a little heavy out of hand, but at the same time, I think the sweepers called a little bit heavy on the last shot as well, so it'll just be interesting to see where this one ends up.
And it seems like kind of the same one as her first one. It's starting to warp into that center line, and they're kind of hoping it hits the brakes, and it does, and a great shot by Asia MacDonald for one.
Biting the button, it doesn't get much better than that. So.
No. So a great end. It seems like patience is their game, and that's what you're seeing here in the first and second end by both teams.
Yeah, and it's good to see, and I think there's nothing wrong with seeing a little bit more of an open game style. I think this would if this play continues this way, which is completely fine, I think it would be one of the few games we've seen this whole weekend that just, let's bide our time. Let's be patient, and when the opportunity comes, let's execute.
Absolutely. And we've said it multiple times this weekend is that you know, you can't lose the game in the first couple ends, but you can't win the game in the first couple ends, but you can lose it. And I think that's, for both teams, that's in their head.
Yeah.
It's like they listened to us, but maybe they didn't, but maybe they did.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to point out that Sam said that phrase the exact same way that he said it the last time.
You know what? I'm dialed in.
Yeah, nothing but good vibes in the
Nothing but good
commentary
vibes.
booth right now.
And for Sam sweeping this stone, looks like she was sweeping it head down the whole way, and now we're hoping for it to stop. It just slips into the rings, and for Jenny MacDonald, Jenny Madden, the way they've been playing, you're going to assume they're going to hit.
I don't mind the hit here,
like
Sam.
it.
I
Yeah,
like it. It's consistent with their strategy we've seen in the first two ends. There's nothing wrong with throwing the guard or even coming around that stone, but both teams have a consistent game plan that they're following, and it's nice to see. And that looked like a nice positive release there by Zephrine, and getting Violet on that stone to hold it straight. I believe they're looking for the nose hit. And
they made the nose hit.
Yeah, so now they have a nice guard in that little box that we've been calling the control zone.
Yeah.
So now I think Asia is asking Sid for the come around.
Yeah.
So that's good to see. Some rocks in play, perhaps.
Yeah, and just to give Ryan a break from talking. Ouch. On sheet 1, you see Team Solari winning 1-0 over Team Beauchamp. On sheet 4, you see Team Smith up 2-0 over Team Ramsey after the first end. And on sheet 5, you see Team Madaw with a steal of 1 in the first end over Team Akers. And we should have a second end update pretty soon here. And for Team MacDonald, hoping this stone hits the brakes, and as we've seen, about that 8-foot area, you see a lot of these stones really start to slow down when it hits that center line.
Yeah, you're right, Sam. And I think it's something that both teams, for both pairs of sweepers on both teams need to maybe adjust what they think the weight is out of the hand of all their throwers. As soon as it's let go, I've seen on both teams they're calling it maybe a little bit heavy, and I think it's just need to expect it to slow down a little bit. So this looks like the come around was called for Zephrine, and Isabel is sticking with it with a little bit of cleaning. And it looks like they made the perfect freeze. Nice shot. So it looks like Asia's asking Zoe for that same sort of come around and freeze to that back Yellowstone that was just thrown by Zephrine. So interestingly enough, this one looks close for line. A little bit of a tighter half, but Sam's doing everything she can to keep that rock straight. And I don't mind that shot. Team MacDonald has a centerline guard now, which plays to their strengths of a more offensive team. And yes, they push that yellow rock into the house, but that blue stone is still second shot. So I think you'll see Team Madden throw the come around. You'll see Isabel throw that come around draw, probably looking for that top 8-foot, top 4-foot zone.
And for Isabel, a really big shot here, just to get the momentum of her shot making back. And they're going to get caught up on this side, being a little bit faster. And it looks like it's starting to curl in, and it looks like it's going to go back to their shot rock in the back 8-foot here. And still sit 2.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with sitting 2 when you have hammer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing Team MacDonald, I think there's a couple shots they could throw here. I don't mind freezing into that pocket, or potentially a hit and roll, you could argue. The third shot that I see as well is that the right-hander's out-turn draw coming from the other side of the sheet. But it looks like Asia's calling a hit on that yellow stone, which I don't mind, especially considering Madden has hammer and they're sitting 2 rocks. I think removing one of those counters is a good call.
I just like that Asia communicated to Zoe that this is what I want you to do, and she really let them see the shot. And really good communication by a young team. And,
Yes.
A big sweep here by Sid.
It looks really close now.
Really good. And a great shot.
A great double.
Shot.
And it rolled buried, I believe, Sam.
And as we said, nothing wrong with sitting 2 for Team Madden. There's nothing wrong with sitting 2 for Team MacDonald.
Yeah, you definitely set yourself up for a good one there.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So we can see there's 2 blues. One, yeah, there we go. 2 of those blue rocks right there. And I think Jenny's considering if they should hit or maybe peel the guard.
I really like this call. I was just going to say that those back stones aren't hurting you.
Yeah.
The stone that's hurting you is in what we've been calling the control zone.
Yeah.
And even you don't even need to make the peel, make the hit and roll, make the run back. Make your yellow either be in the control zone or at least not have the blue in the control zone.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sam. And I think that as the goal here, just like for most hits, is we want to move it. And even if you leave yours there, it's not bad.
It's a great shot.
That's a little bit of a...
We're going to say that was called, because it's a great run back triple.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think it depends on...
It is the miss.
On what... I think it depends on what team is seeing that shot, Sam. At the end of the day, they have that rock out front for them, and now MacDonald has that ability to hit that wide stone and roll under.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that crisp release by Sam.
Yeah. Oh, and a big yell by Asia to get them off the rock, and as we can see, that rock just drifted out.
Yeah.
And for Team Madden, playing that peel that they just called and turns into a run back double. I'm saying that's the miss because now that yellow is in the control zone. Even if you didn't make the run back double, that yellow's in the control zone, and that's exactly what you want. Even though you do have hammer and it is a center guard, you want to really control the front, and that's exactly what they did.
Exactly, Sam, and just that double that happened in the back is kind of just extra.
Yeah, it's bonus, if you will, the cherry on top.
Yeah. So I think we're seeing Violet being called for a top 4-foot come around.
And, you know, every end, Zafreen with her head down, sleeping.
Yeah.
And she'll be getting a good night's sleep tonight.
Yeah, a little tick here, perhaps?
Yeah, look, drawing it up.
Yeah. I think one thing that both teams might be getting caught on is that maybe a little bit straight to her side. It's just hanging a smidge, not moving as much. It's not as active as that sheet one side.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we've seen this side really move to the center with really good weight. So I think it's more the weight control. And for Team MacDonald, playing the hit and roll here, this one seems to be running a little bit straighter on them. Maybe making the double. And
anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. No, that was
we're gonna get striked.
Yeah. Everyone in the clubhouse was like, "Oh wow, they did that." But a great shot by Sam, erasing the previous shot and now you have a wide open house. But it goes back to what we were saying about that first, I believe it was that second, Isabel's second shot with moving that guard. Yes, they got the double, but they still have that control zone. And now they can play that come around or even potentially a split.
Yeah. And as we said about the Mayville Maliba game.
Malima.
I said Malima. Anyway, the 3-0 and 0-3, and
Yeah.
it just shows the parity of these teams. That Team MacDonald, being a younger team and making these great shots,
Yeah.
just like Team Madden, making these great shots. A little bit of an unforced error there by Team Madden.
Yeah.
Never with your hammer, never like staggered guards.
No, you never like staggered guards unless you're behind them and you're quite confident that the other team can't get you. But and I think this kind of setup favors Team MacDonald right now. They are more of that aggressive finesse team, and I think Asia showed us perfectly in the second end with those two great draws that they're not afraid to throw a draw and make it and have it where they would like it to be. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes. I believe they're set up on the curlier side.
That's a long sentence.
Maybe a run-on, but it's not written. So.
I like Team MacDonald playing this handle.
Yes.
It really finishes harder at the end.
Mm-hmm.
She knows this path because she made two great draws in the second end. And she knows that it's really going to bury, even though the stagger is on the other side.
Yeah.
They know it's going to curl here.
Zoe is
big
just,
sweep by Zoe.
Yeah. Everything Zoe has to get it by there.
Rub off the front one, maybe. Oh,
that's not a terrible
it's a
position.
good tolerance.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hard for Team Madden to blank, which after the Team MacDonald's lead stones sliding into the rings, they fully thought they were going to blank.
Mm-hmm. I like where that blue rock is positioned for Team MacDonald. I think it's a very usable stone for them. And I think that no matter where you see Team Madden kind of go behind that guard, MacDonald will always have that ability to promote that stone forward.
Absolutely. And it's in that control zone that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
For Jenny, I'm not sure if she's thrown a draw yet. I can't kind of play it back in my head, but
I think she's thrown one draw.
She's definitely communicating to Zafreen and Isabella about the weight that she needs. Is it like practice? Is it like my draw for hammer? Do I need 4 feet more or 4 feet less? And I like the rotation. It's been accurate all game. She's been throwing that 4 or 5 rotations, which will mean her rock will be a little straighter than the rest of the ice, the rest of the players on the ice. But great line call by Violet. They calling heavy, but it was really diving to the center there.
Yeah. And I think it might just hang around. I think it's just that difference in rotation.
Absolutely. And she does put the pressure back on MacDonald to make a nice draw here, because they did stick around in that back behind all those guards.
Yeah. And I like how Asia is kind of communicating to Sam, okay, I think I would give this much ice on the little bit swingier side. We're going to tighten it up a bit, and then we'll get the curl that we need to get in there. And I think the other thing they have going for them is that those yellow guards are a little staggered. And if you can get this blue rock maybe half buried, 3/4 of a rock buried behind that set of guards, Team Madden might be in a little bit of trouble trying to remove it.
So another big sweep we see by Zoe to make it move. The pace looks really close.
And so does the line, Sam. It's really cutting in there.
A big sweep by this young team to get shot stone, and they do. Great sweeping by Zoe to get it there.
And great positioning of that rock, Sam. I think on the righty hack. I think we have no lefty alerts, so that's good. Well, it's not. Well, okay, it's not good, but you know what I mean. Anyways, you can see, I think, maybe about half of that stone. So I think it'll be not as straightforward to remove that blue stone.
I like the ice they're taking. It makes me believe they're throwing that board weight, which we've seen that board weight move on this side.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with that board weight too, Sam, is maybe you get a little bit of overcurl. You still have that potential to tap those yellows in to score a point. So I like keeping that weight softer here.
And by the way, the angle of the camera, the shot looks quite difficult. So it'll be a nice. She is in the righty hack, obviously.
Apparently, but, my preferred.
We have no bias here.
No,
at least
not.
I have no bias here.
Not at all.
And big shot here for Jenny.
Yeah. Looks like we were going to see Isabel on the brush for this one. Oh.
And I like the weight she threw. It looked like that board up weight, and it just tracked a little bit for them.
Yeah, I think it might have just been a spot in the ice, or just that difference in rotation that we see between Team MacDonald and Team Madden. But yeah, all of a sudden,
tie game.
Exactly.
You know, for Team Madden going into this next end, you kind of shake that third end off. Yes, you gave up a steal, but you're still tied with Hammer, and you're on even ends.
Exactly, Sam. And I think Team Madden has been, both teams have been doing a lot of things right. So I don't think this early on I don't think it's worth getting down on yourself.
No,
just that
I
early.
Totally agree. Tie game with Hammer, you're still in the power position. You're still technically ahead, even though it's a tie game.
Yeah.
You have that Hammer, you have that last stone. Both teams have been really patient.
Yes.
And that's what I'd like to see as Asia is calling a center guard.
Yes, but and right now, just a quick score update. We have 5-0 lead, Solari over Beauchamp with Hammer. We have Smith leading Ramsey 3-0. Ramsey with Hammer playing the third, and Madaw is leading 1-0 over Akers, playing the second. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the athletes do here. We've played it a little bit more open for the first third, roughly, of the game. And it'll be interesting to see maybe if we shift gears here. Maybe we'll have a little bit more aggression, or we'll stay patient. I think throwing that centerline guard plays to Team MacDonald's strength. And it looks like we are going to see Jenny call Zafreen for that corner guard. So I think the ladies are going to potentially be a little bit more aggressive here. Zafreen sliding out, nice and straight. Good rotation here. Violet's carrying it all the way to where Jenny has her broom. I really like to see Jenny coming out of the house, putting her broom down, saying, "Ladies, I want it here." And I think having your broom there really helps the sweepers in how precise you want that guard to be. And I believe it ended up exactly where Jenny had her broom.
It's just great communication.
Yeah.
It really is. From the skip to the lead, you need to have communication in all four positions, and it's really important. And I like, so far, 100% end, a nice tight center guard, and a nice corner guard. So we're kind of flipping the script after the first three ends, and it looks like both teams are ready to score.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's something to be said about maybe starting the game a little bit slower. It gives everybody that chance to adjust to the ice surface and really hone in on what they need to do to get their stones to do what they would like.
And speak of communication, Sam, that whole way that rock was coming down, was telling Asia that it's a little heavy, it's a little hot, it's a little hot, I want to wait, I don't want to sweep yet,
Yeah.
I don't want to sweep yet, and then right at the end buries it to the top button.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great thing to mention, Sam. It's knowing that it's knowing when it's time to sweep and when it's not. So I really do like seeing Team Madden use that corner guard they threw. We have seen that some teams have thrown the corner guard and maybe not tried to use it as much as they would have liked. So it's good to see that Madden, it's good to see that Zafreen is throwing that corner and then asked to come around it. We'll just have to wait and see for where it ends up.
Oh, does it hit the brakes in time? Isabella's following it, and the thumbs up from Isabella saying, stayed in the rings.
A-okay.
Yeah.
So that's good to see.
You know what? The leads did their job.
Yeah, I think this is what you want to see when you have your leads setting up an end.
Absolutely.
This is a really good setup. Both teams doing what they would like. MacDonald using the center, Madden using the corner, and now it's just interesting to see where the next few shots go.
Interesting call here, drawing around the corner guard. Yes, you do want to sit too, but you are sitting very pretty on that top button.
Yes,
I wouldn't mind playing that high center guard.
Mm-hmm.
And just for a learning aspect, that high center guard really puts the pressure on Team Madden to make those double peels.
Yeah. What do you think Team Madden's up to right here, Sam? What do you think their call is?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely going to see them run back that blue one now, because as we talked about the control zone, that tight center guard is their problem, Rock.
Yeah. And
so you're going to see either a hit and roll, a run back, or just a straight peel.
Yeah. With this shot, Sam, do you like that up weight for this kind of peel, or do you see maybe a softer shot to try to hit and stick over on the side?
It depends how aggressive you want to be. Right now you have two problem stones, really. You have that stone that's on the top button, and you have that tight center guard. So if you do want to throw a control, board weight, hit and roll, and stick around, that's definitely a team preference. But if you're Team Madden, you really just want to make the hit and roll, try to get out of that front zone, and she almost rolled it in.
Yeah.
Isabella really came close there. And flipping the script for Team MacDonald, you really want to make this guard and keep the pressure on.
Yeah, I really like the guard here, Sam. That blue rock is positioned in a really good spot for Team MacDonald. So I'm not surprised to see Asia ask Zoe to put that center line guard back up there and force Team Madden to make another sort of play at that center rock.
Absolutely. And that's why we discussed before that I liked if Team MacDonald threw that second guard.
Yes.
Right? Because then there's not quite as much pressure making, 5 perfect shots in a row.
Yeah.
This looks great coming in, and maybe a little bit deeper than they wanted, but it's still guarding that center stone, and there's still a good 5 to 6 feet of space in between those stones.
And notice, Sam, how that rock is positioned just a little bit differently than the last one. And one thing that we've noticed is that slight adjustment and where that rock is that the opposing team is trying to hit can make the difference in how the rock travels down the ice and what weight should be thrown.
Yeah. And just a shout out to Jenny's gloves. She has back old school, the green and red tape.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a while, but
really?
with the masks,
true.
It's hard to yell through the mask sometimes, and I like that they want to be communicating as best as possible when the rock is coming down the ice. And for that second sweeper, you're looking up to see if you see that green light or the red light. And
yeah.
For Isabella, as you said, the stone has moved over a little bit. It's a different angle.
Yeah.
Zafreen sweeping really hard to make this run back, or if not, make the peel, and it just over curls, but mission accomplished. You get rid of that center guard.
Is that side stone in, Sam, that Zafreen was sweeping? They're taking a look at it.
I really don't want to say because I know you're going to take the opposite.
On 3, we can say what we think if you want. It's really close, and I think I don't think that being in or out changes what Team MacDonald is doing. I still like bringing the play to Team Madden, throwing that center line guard, and seeing what comes of it.
Absolutely. And this one by Sam looks like it's running a little hotter, so they for Team MacDonald, you really want to communicate, let's make that separation, let's tap this stone to the back 8 foot, to the back 12 foot, and so there's not an easy double, and that's exactly what they do.
Yeah, I think that is a great weight call by Zoe there to articulate to the rest of her team. It's a little heavy, and I think Asia did the right thing to just let the rock take its course and slow down a bit, and you're sitting 2.
Yeah, you just need to try and make the best of what's been given when
Exactly.
the rock is coming into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like they communicated that. So for Violet, we've seen her make some great doubles already so far this game, and it looks like Jenny's asking her to do it again.
Yeah.
And I really like that these Team Madden, these 4 curlers really have similar releases.
Yes.
And it's really helpful as a skip to see the same release, so it's really helpful for them to put the broom down, and that's a great hit and roll by Violet.
Yeah, I love the audible there because although they weren't able to remove both blue stones, by Yellow being able to roll 4 shot behind cover, it's almost like she did in a sense. So I think Team MacDonald is calling the freeze here. I like that call.
Absolutely.
Setting up some sort of angle or some sort of stone that you can use later to change the angle or promote.
So for Sam, you want to see a similar weight as she just threw, maybe a couple feet lighter, and make this corner freeze to really shrink that scoring area for Team Madden. And a big sweep here by Zoe. And I don't mind this tolerance, solely because, yes, you're guarding a Team Madden stone, but for Asia about to throw, we know her draw weight has been spot on. So for Asia about to throw, it kind of gives them the out that they need. So for Team Madden, you have to be very careful where you put this next stone.
Yeah, and the other thing I really like about where that guard ended up is it's fully guarding that back 8 foot stone. And I think, yes, the ice is curling enough that you can move it, but just it not being as accessible is another victory.
Absolutely. I think for Team Madden, it's very important to keep the communication up for this shot, because if you put this in the top 4 foot, half buried, even fully buried, that's exactly where you want to put it. Back 4 is the no zone.
Yes.
And if you are heavy, let's bring this to the back 12 and kind of, or at least bring this to the back of the blue one there. And
maybe move that. Maybe
that's
move
what
it.
you're seeing it.
That side
a lot
is
of
really
late finish here.
I was gonna say that side is really finishing. It could be something with the fact that this is the second draw after a scrape, I believe, right?
Yes.
So, and just that, as well as the ice has been played on, this is the 8th game in 2 days.
Yeah, Rob Matheson was telling me before this draw that, his ice hasn't been played on this much in 2 days, right? This is 8 draws in 2 days for when normally they play league games where it's only 1 draw, 2 draws a day, maybe 3, depending on how busy they are. So it's really interesting to see how the ice is reacting, and both sides of the sheet are really coming more even. We have even hit weight is a little bit straighter on this right side where Sam is sitting and holding the broom. For Team MacDonald, obviously for Asia, a big shot. Even if you are right back into the one in the back 4 foot, you're cutting down that scoring area and you'll be shot. So they're kind of hoping this rock curls a little bit. And I think that's what
Zoe's trying to do. But it's moving over there, Sam. I think if it has
to walk it over.
If it has the weight, maybe. Ooh, nice shot.
And blue sits second shot.
Yeah.
And for Team MacDonald, they would have liked that to curl about a foot more. So maybe I think just a little bit too much ice on that. And you didn't see the reaction of the rock that Violet had. Violet's rock really finished. So for Jenny, she's going to want to hit and roll. Maybe even, I think a really good shot here would be to hit and roll kind of towards the J in the Junior Slam series. Just because you're still sitting 3, but that pocket isn't there. Kind of what I want a little bit is roll towards that J, just because there's no pocket. For Team MacDonald, it's really a team decision whether you want to play that freeze or that hit and freeze. And I think we've been talking a lot about the 2-for-1 shots. And for Team MacDonald, making that hit and roll is the 2-for-1. You're going to make the hit, you roll right under the top button, you're going to be shot stone, frozen, and that's a really good position to be in, and a big shot for Asia MacDonald here.
Yeah, so in terms of the roll here, Sam, are we looking to roll directly on top of that back 4-foot rock, or where do you think the roll should end up?
I think, yeah, right on the center line, splitting the center line back button, and a little bit of sweeping early.
Yeah, I think Zoe
looks close. I think a little more weight than they expected.
Maybe a double here?
Double jams. Yeah. And just stayed straighter than they expected.
Yeah.
So, for Team Madden, a big extra point.
Yeah, whenever you can try to convert those extra point ends, they do make the difference on the scoreboard. So it's good to be up 2, but it's better to be up 3. So it'll be good to see this shot coming down from Jenny.
I like that Isabel, she knows the weight she needs. She saw that the time didn't look the way she wanted, and she hopped on it right away, and this is going to be a big sweep by Isabella here. They need 8 foot. She's digging. Just comes up short. A great sweep by Isabella, and though it did come up about an inch short, she's going to communicate to Jenny that, okay, we need about 4 or 5 more feet of weight, and Jenny's going to make that adjustment for when she needs to draw the 4 foot against 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly, Sam. And I think this game is kind of showing, the ice is playing a little bit different, especially on that sheet 3 side. I think that sheet 3 side is getting a little bit more swing, which is always nice to see. With the up weight, it tends to be running a bit straight. So I'm looking at both of the teams and looking to see who can make that adjustment first.
Absolutely. Still a big 2 points for Madden, and if you said at the beginning of the fourth end that you're going to get 2, I think they would have accepted that.
Well, that's always the goal, right,
Yeah.
Sam? We're always looking for that score of 2, and anything more than that is a bonus.
Yeah.
So we got our goal if you're in the Team Madden camp, and now it's on Team MacDonald to try to generate a multiple score with Hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're Team MacDonald, yes, you just gave up 2, but it's only a 2-point game. And you have Hammer, so let's put up the corner guard and let's focus on really making 8 stones. And that's one of the hardest parts to do in curling is make 8 rocks as a team. So I kind of like them drawing around the center guard now that Team Madden came up short. Though they are in that control zone, I like that Team MacDonald is playing that patient game that we talked about.
Yeah, it definitely fits in with the Team MacDonald MO of playing that aggressive style now that they've had a chance to kind of get comfortable. So
So for Team MacDonald, they get the corner guard, and for Team Madden, they have that center guard, and we've seen these leads set up the end great in the last 2 ends, and all game, but really the last 2 ends you've seen kind of 4 really good shots, two by both leads. And for Team Madden, this rock, like we've talked about, this side that we've been calling the straighter side is really starting to curl. And I like to see that. Rob Matheson said that he made an adjustment in the ice in between our second draw today and our third draw today. And I think you're really starting to see that.
yeah, and I think it's good to see that although that is happening, it's not necessarily phasing the athletes. And yes, there might be a shot here or there where an adjustment is needed, but overall they're making those adjustments quite quickly.
Absolutely. So for Team MacDonald, Asia's asking Sid to draw around that yellow Madden stone. And the communication from the sweepers is that it's heavy. A great sweep by Violet there. She was head down the whole way trying to get that stone by the guard. And though they rubbed, they still are in the top 8, kind of in that zone that we've been talking about. And so for Team MacDonald, they're going to want a nice delicate hit and roll under the center guards.
And it looks like Asia is asking that of Zoe
Yes.
second. And I think this shot could go a long way in constructing this end in the favor of Team MacDonald. So it'll be good to see Zoe make that hit.
Yeah, in previous broadcasts, we've talked about how every position has had big shots in multiple ends because a lot of people, and especially at a younger age, kind of think that, you know, it's up to the skip. But it's really a team sport for a reason, and especially with the 5-rock rule, communication and shot making and execution is really important for all 4 players. And for Team MacDonald, though they didn't make the hit and roll, I like their tolerance there of getting that center guard, getting that Yellowstone out of that control zone that we've been talking about. And for Team Madden, Jenny's asking Isabella to put the stone top 8, top 4 foot, buried behind that tight blue center guard.
And this is an opportunity for Isabel to really make a difference in this end for Team Madden. Mine's looking close. It's getting a bit snug to that guard, but Zephrine is doing everything she can to hold that straight.
A trend we've been seeing.
Yes, Zephrine, just like all the other ladies on the sheet, they're just putting everything they have into holding that rock or trying to get it to curl, and it shows.
Yeah, so for Team MacDonald, you get a second attempt at this hit and roll under the kind of the great wall that we see in front of that left side of your screen there. And as soon as one team gets a rock under that very well could be the rock that scores. So a big sweep here by Sam to hold this stone and make that hit and roll. Just over curls. I like the weight they threw, that control up weight to really try and keep the sweepers in the shot, but really try to make the rock curl not quite as much. That was a great shot by Team Madden to get through the hole there. Obviously, those are those team shots that we talk about. The line call. For Team MacDonald, though that rock over curled on them, they're really starting to clear the front because they realize that they do have last stone and they want Asia to have a shot to score. And that's that patient game that we've been talking about this whole time, and they're really trying to execute that game plan. And for Team Madden, I like that they're bringing the play into the rings, having that 2-point lead. They are playing this tap to put this in about the top 4 foot and really trying to put the pressure on Team MacDonald. So Violet's goal here is to tap that front yellow stone about 4 feet. So looks the weight is really close here in the line. Zephyr's really trying to hold the line. And a good shot So now that Yellowstone is buried, and for Team MacDonald, it's tough to get that hit and roll under those guards. I like that they're playing this hit. I like that they're opening that left side so Asia does have a shot to score. And Sam's goal here, first goal is to hit Granite, and second goal is to make that roll over and really try to group the stones so they can try and get their multiple points. And again, I really like the weight and a great shot by Team MacDonald. I really like the weight they threw there. And that blue stone, with the guards the way they are, is very hard to get out. So you're probably going to see Team Madden play the best defense is offense sometimes and put the center guard up and really try to make it so that Team MacDonald can't tap that blue stone. I really like the guard, and looks like the whole team's talking about it because it kind of goes against their game plan. But Violet already has the broom down, and Jenny is sliding down playing this guard. So when I say the best defense is offense, when the Rock is in this position where Team Madden can't hit this blue stone out because where the guards are. So if they guard it, then Team MacDonald cannot use it whatsoever. So we talk about big shots, even though it's a guard. This is a big shot because if it overcurls, Team MacDonald can make the hit and roll and sit too, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, if you're Team MacDonald, multiple point. For Isabel, keeping the Rock clean, staying close so the Rock doesn't overcurl, and as long as it continues to touch that center line, which it does, that's a great shot. And for Team MacDonald, I think you're going to see a draw to the top button here. And we've seen Asia's draws really on point. So yes, it is difficult to navigate that port. But if you put this right top button kind of buried behind the Team Madden guard that they just threw, you can really start looking at multiple. But first, you got to focus on scoring.
No, I completely agree with you, Sam. And I think that's something Asia has done really well so far this game, is that the end might not be setting up ideal for the team or whatever the case may be, but through one of her two shots, if not both of them during some of these ends, she really executes and makes it well, and it's a great team shot to get the team out of a bit of trouble. And looks like we're seeing Zoe really sweep, really hurry hard for this one, trying to get it into the 4-foot. And I don't mind where the location of that rock ended up. Obviously they were looking to get shot stone into the rings, but at the same time, they left that rock in a location where they can use it.
Absolutely.
And that's the name of the game right now, is how many ways into that 4-foot zone do you have?
Yeah. And I like where they left it solely because they can run that back into the blue stone that we talked about and make that hit for one. And if you're Team Madden, you're on guard. You just want to play the guard here and try to take away the draw and the tap. If you can put this guard in a really good spot, which would be about 2 feet off the center line, guarding the tap and really trying to choke off that draw, it's gonna put Team Madden in a tough spot on their last stone. I mean Team MacDonald. Flip the names.
Last shot here by Team Madden. Violet's gesturing for a zone 2 guard in front of that blue raise or pardon me, in front of that blue stone. But I don't mind where it ended up, because I think if you would have seen Team Madden guard that blue rock, you would have seen Team MacDonald try to make their way through that port into the 4-foot.
Yeah, and for Team Madden, they do exactly what I was talking about. They block that blue tap on the center line, and they block that draw through the port. So now Team MacDonald is going to have to make a quite difficult angle raise to the 4-foot.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a little bit interesting to see how the ice reacts out there. I don't think we did see Team Malima put their broom on the sidelines on that side, but that was last draw. So it will be interesting to see how the rock reacts out here. I don't really know what to expect, to be
I like the
honest.
ice they're taking. At least if you really think about the last, 7 or 8 draws that we've seen on this sheet, it seems to curl. Even if with the right weight, it does seem to curl. So I like that they're taking edge of 12. It looks like they want to throw a back 8, back 12, maybe even backline weight, and make this angle tap. So.
Oh, I hear Sam calling off,
Yeah.
but this side should swoop a bit for them.
I like the weight they threw, and as you said, it was a kind of a guess out there. We haven't seen anything out there this game, and they threw that backline weight, which would have been perfect to tap it up into the 4-foot. So just kind of a guess of where to put the broom, and a steal of 1 for Team Madden after 5 ends. You're going to see Team MacDonald get a little more aggressive now as we get into the all-important 6th end.
Yeah, and I think a key observation we made last draw with the men's is that 6th end really makes the difference, Sam. That it really has the opportunity to change the trajectory of the game, and I think it's something that Team MacDonald needs to keep in mind. If they score right now in the 6th end, maybe 2-3 points, then Team Madden, if you can force them to score in the 7th end, you have an extra hammer. So you have 2 hammers to their 1. And I think that bodes well for them moving forward.
I absolutely agree with you that it looks like Team Madden called for this to be top 4, and Violet head down sweeping the whole way. It is going to end as a guard, which they didn't want. But we've talked about that controlling that center line, and it seemed to have worked for them so far this game. And for Team MacDonald, they're going to take advantage of this guard and focus on drawing around this guard and really making, after a little bit of a miss. And so you're going to see Sid focus on making this next shot.
Yeah, and I like this shot, trying to get into the rings first. It's never a bad call to beat your opponent into the rings. And this one seems to be really warping. But it doesn't phase Sam. Sam knew exactly where that rock was going, and she knew she couldn't go on it for weight. And it ended up being a nice shot back for her.
She really encouraged that stone to sit with the hand movements, and I just like seeing that. It just sees that these younger teams are really involved in the game. Mm-hmm. And being their first event in U18, they just graduated from U15. Obviously, there is a skill level that you have to learn, and a new game that you have to learn, really. And so it's great to see that they're really keeping some of these really good U18 teams and having really close games all weekend long. And a big sweep by Isabella right out of her hand to try to get by that guard. But you know what? I like that tolerance. I like that, though it was their center guard, it was their problem stone. So they make that peel and really open up the end that they want that, obviously.
Yeah, and I think Sam one thing that I think it would be nice for you to speak to, because you have that kind of first-hand experience. You talk about that transition from that U15 level to this U18 level. But I'm sure some of our listeners right now might be in the U20 or U21 level. And I think I was wondering if you could just speak to what the transition from that U21 level is, what it was when we were in it, or now known as the U20 level, into adult play. Things, maybe a few elements that you found important to keep in mind, and maybe what the learning curve really felt like.
That's a great question.
Thank you. I try my best.
And I've been asked this question quite a few times from coaches that coach these U20, U21 teams, because their players are interested in playing in the men's and women's level. And it is a big skill gap. To name drop some teams, the team Parity, who went and won 3 world championships, and they won 3 world championships, and they go into men's play, and they do make the BC final, which is great for a first men's level team. But they even talked about it on TSN that it is a much bigger gap than they anticipated. These top men's and women's teams are obviously they're pros, and the skill gap from constantly throwing 90%, 95%, that's what it takes to win those games in the adult level. And the level that my men's team is in now, as we play what you probably classify as the tier 3 level in men's curling, which is that ranking from in between 35th and 300th, where we did get to play some European teams in our first men's year, which is really cool to play, because in juniors you don't get to do that a lot. And though COVID happened, and this year is a little bit different, it's a learning year for us. It's like from the U18 level to the U20 level, that first year is a very big learning year. From, in U20 that they don't miss tolerances often, and they execute higher, right? So for Team MacDonald going from U15 to U18, they're noticing that as well, right? The U18s are executing
just a higher percentage.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's an adaptation, it's practice, it's repetition, and learning the technical wise curling is. That's what this U15, U18 level is really trying to perfect, the technique of curling. And then when you get into U20 and men's and women's, it's really trying to perfect the strategy and the mental game of curling. So that's kind of where long story short, that's kind of
like the evolution
of the game.
Yeah. Just as we have it pop up in front of us, we have Team Solari, almost said celery, Team Solari leading Team Beauchamp with a score of 7-3. Team Beauchamp has hammer, throwing blue rocks in the 5th end. On sheet 4, we have the bandit group of Team Smith. Lots of steals happening over there. They're leading 5-0 against Team Ramsey, but Team Ramsey has hammer, and we have seen many big scores. And then finally, we have a really tight match going on between Team Akers and Team Madaw. Team Madaw's leading 3-2, throwing blue rocks, but Team Akers has hammer in the 5th end.
And back to our game, I went on a little bit of a tangent. We missed a couple of stones.
Sorry.
But I think it's really important for the listeners to hear that. And back to our game, though, Team MacDonald trying to make this hit and roll. They do have those 2 guards, which is exactly what they want.
Yes.
They want to score multiple here in the 6th end, and a great hit and roll.
Oh, and their shot
by Zoe. And it's going to be interesting. Does Madden decide to play through that port, or they decide, you know what, I have a 3-point lead, let's peel these rocks and let's not play with fire?
Yeah, I think you might see Madden play the hit through the hole, Sam, just knowing that the tolerance is to clip that more center line guard on what we see as the right-hand side, and I think she's going to ask Violet to throw maybe a little bit more of a solid weight to make sure that even if they just touch one of the guards, that it moves quite far. And we see Isabel jump on it right out of her hand. Oh wow, that's warping a lot. But I think if you're Team Madden, you're okay with that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, moving, clearing that center up, giving the skipper an open look at that blue stone, that shot stone right now, is never a bad thing to do.
And I think you're absolutely right. Like I was saying, you see when you go from U15 to U18 to U20 to men's and women's, you see tolerance being made. And that's what Team Madden just did, right? Though they didn't make the shot that was called, they made the tolerance. They made the right miss, is what you hear.
A huge sweep,
a big sweep, yeah,
by Zoe, and it looks like they're gonna get a freeze, maybe a smidge of a tap.
Oh, and a really good shot.
And Blue's sitting too, and that stone thrown by Sam, Blue is sitting too, and in a good position to potentially score a multiple here with Hammer in the all-important 6th.
Took all my quotes, didn't even need to say anything. But you're absolutely right. It is a very important end to score. And if you're Team MacDonald, you'd love to score multiple. But you need to remember that we just need to score here. Make sure that Asia has a shot to, yes, you do want to score too, like I said, but make sure you do score.
Yeah, exactly.
And as we've seen for most of the game, Zafirine head down, sweeping hard, making this hit. And this looks like a great shot. A hit and roll right to that pocket.
Yeah.
And for Violet, we've seen that all game. We've seen, and for both teams, we've seen that all game. But I like that MacDonald, Asia not phased and playing this freeze tap.
Yeah.
It's absolutely the call. I like that.
No, I like the freeze tap here, Sam, and I think the one thing that Team MacDonald needs to keep in mind is releasing that back yellow far enough so that once this setup shot is thrown, they can move it again to bring that side blue into play.
And they're really making Zoe work hard this end. That's 2 back-to-back sweeps. And though they aren't getting the exact result they wanted, they're moving that blue one a little over to center where they can tap that and really make separation here. Yeah, and if you told MacDonald that you're going to be, though you're not first shot, you're going to have 2 blue in the rings, you're going to, at the beginning of the end, you're going to be, they would be happy with that. And for Team Madden, you're kind of guarding, really. And for Team Madden, similar to the 5th end, sometimes offense is your best defense. Throwing that 2-zone guard and guarding that freeze that Team MacDonald has. So I like the communication between the sweepers and the thrower, and Isabella keeping her broom down. She doesn't look like she's head down sweeping hard, but she's really keeping it clean, and important to keep this stone moving, and she looks like she's really digging in now to get this over the hog line and get this to the center line. A great sweep by Isabella to get over that hog
yes,
line.
These sweepers are putting on a clinic on how to carry a rock as far as you can.
I think they're going to have no problem sleeping tonight.
I think that's an understatement, Sam. I feel like they've thrown every ounce of energy that they have into both executing these shots when it's their turn to throw, as well as sweeping those shots to make sure they can get the most out of each stone that was thrown.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. A tough shot for Team MacDonald. I would almost be playing the backline hack tap through the hole onto your blue one, and if you end up making a peel, yeah, that's kind of where you're at right now. I think that's definitely the call. This is a lot tougher of a shot for Asia, but if made, a great shot.
No, I agree with you, Sam, and I think right now Team MacDonald, I don't think they have a great opportunity to be shot on this rock. With this call they do, but I feel like if they played that kind of backline hack weight shot you mentioned through that port, jiggle the angles around, if that stone is still visible come her second shot, you could see a big score here for the blue team.
Yeah. Oh, and it looks like the earpiece.
The earpiece.
She heard us.
Yes.
Maybe.
Potentially.
It looks like she's trying to get through that port.
Yeah.
Where the broom is. And now Sam says, you know what? I don't know what you want me to do. Let's talk about this. Let's communicate what we're throwing.
I think one thing that could be noted for a learning experience is the skip Asia she has two shots in her head, and you always like to see the skip to be certain in the shot that they're calling. So maybe in future, Asia would go back, see Sam, and just talk about what they're thinking and maybe reposition the broom. But if Asia is all in on the shot, I like to see that.
It looks like they decided to play the peel. And a double peel at that.
Yeah, that really opens up Asia's pathways and opportunities into that house. Right now, if I'm yellow, I'm a little worried because that top blue stone could give Team MacDonald a shot at 3 points.
Definitely for 2.
Yes.
With the angle, it'll be tough to keep the shooter. So for Team MacDonald, great shot for Team MacDonald to make that double peel. But for Team Madden, you're really going to want to focus on that tight guard. So for Team Madden, a pressure guard.
Yeah.
And she did just make a great guard, but now she's switching to that curlier side. And the weight, she's going to want to throw a little bit more weight, as Isabella really had to sweep that last one. So you're probably going to see Zafreen stay close to this stone.
As she has with every other stone.
But a big team shot here.
Yes, yes. It looks like it's running a little heavy out of hand, but this side tends to slow the rocks down right about now.
It looks like it's warping into that center that we've seen, and they're hoping that it just sits and a great guard.
Yeah, and
you know, a lot of people don't say, oh, pressure guard, but that was a pressure guard, absolutely. For Team MacDonald now, they still have that heavy draw tap for 1.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that is crucial to point out, especially understanding how that side has a little more movement, notice how out of Jenny's hand you have that crisp release with nice rotation. That will do you wonders on that side of the ice, as Jenny had just showed us.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Moving to Team MacDonald now, Asia has been getting that draw weight really close to that button area, so I'm expecting to see this one be really close.
And it looks like Zoe is sweeping right out of her hand.
Oh.
And Sam's calling her off. They're hoping that it curls here. Just under curls. And A steal of 1 for Team Madden.
Sam, stop slacking. We're here all night, baby.
I'm multitasking.
Multitasking. Sure.
I am your ride back to Byron's house, so I'd be careful.
Anyways, Sam, is there any trends that you notice just looking at the 4 sheets we have going right now? Anything that you notice maybe on the scoreboard or glancing over, seeing some strategy?
You do see yellow winning across all 5 sheets, except for a tie game on sheet 5. Now, I don't know if that's just a coincidence or the yellow rocks might be maybe the better set. I'm not exactly sure. I've never ran into a problem with rocks here.
Yeah. I was gonna make the comment saying if you look at how many points each team is scoring, with the exception of the second end on sheet 1, with Team Solari taking a 4, most of these scores are 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to how important this final draw is. I think all the women out there on the ice really understand that they're jockeying for position, and maybe those teams that are on the cusp of the 3rd and 4th position and the 5th and 6th position out of this 8-team selection, like they're really trying their best to put this last win on the board for their team.
And a big sweep by Sam here, head down right out of her hand to try and make the hit and stick here, and not for the lack of trying, just over curls.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot more movement in these last 2 ends, Sam. I think especially as this is the 4th draw of the day, and there's just, we can see there's more movement, and I don't envision it getting any straighter.
Yeah, I agree with you. For Team Madden, we've talked about that make after miss for Team MacDonald, but though you do have a 4-point lead, it's a big shot at make after a miss here. Looks like they want it top 12, and Isabel's calling heavy. And it looks like it's close. And for Zafreen, she's going to be happy with those first 2 stones of this end.
Sam, I don't think you could put those in much better of a spot.
Yeah.
That if I'm Team Madden, I am liking where I see my first 2 stones.
Yeah. And MacDonald is recognizing that and deciding that we don't want to leave these 2 stones in a really good spot. So we're going to move these stones around. Play maybe even the nose or the hit and stick, and make Team Madden make a hit. So for sit, her goal is to make Granite disappear and try to keep that shot stone in play. So they're trying to make this curl, which for a young team, it's really nice to see that they're trying to adapt that directional sweeping. In the U15 level, you don't quite see that often. So they're already, after one event, you know, the 4th draw, they're already adapting to the U18 level.
No, exactly, Sam. And I think the one key thing that we can't stress enough, this is the first tournament for some of these teams, and for some of these players it could be the first time they've been on the ice this whole season, and just the consistent learning and adapting to whatever the ice, whatever the other team your opponent throws at you, it's nothing but just good healthy curling and good healthy learning.
Absolutely. For Isabel, Jenny's looked like she's calling the just biting top 12, maybe even a tight guard, and really put the pressure on Team MacDonald. And though this guard is a little higher than they want, the line is perfect for it.
Yeah, I think Team Madden is doing everything that they can to close out this game. Very aggressive first 2 very well placed shots by Zafreen, and then you see Isabel follow up with a guard And I really do like this call that Asia has. That you got to move that center line stone so that you can open up that area for you and your vice in those last 4 shots that your team has.
Taking the words right out of my mouth. This is a very mature call. Yes, you're down 4, but this guard is your problem stone.
It is.
And I like that they're playing this shot, and it looks like they're just getting caught up on that straighter side. For Team Madden, kind of keeping that aggressiveness going here. You're in a great spot with your stones in the top 4 foot and in the top 8 foot and a guard already up there. Why not put one top 12 tight guard and continue the aggression? And it looks like the wider we get, the more fresher path we see, and it looks like this rock is staying a little straighter than they expected. So great heads up call by Team Madden to just sweep this rock through, because any rock that stays behind the T-line really helps Team MacDonald. So though it did stay in the very back 12, it's really out of the way. And for Team MacDonald, again with the heads up call of playing the peel, they know that this guard is their problem stone, and really try to get this peel and move this rock out of the way.
And I think,
and for Zoe, she really, I like the weight that they threw, and I think the trend that we've seen, I think this is a little bit of too much ice, and knowing that side really doesn't move. So really try to bring your sweepers of, just to learn for the next time or tomorrow morning when they're playing, is that really tighten that ice up and bring your sweepers into play when it comes to those peels.
yeah, I think that's a common occurrence that we keep seeing, Sam, is that you're usually getting the best outcome out of your shots when you have some element of sweeping available.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something that, obviously it being the first event for many of these athletes, maybe a key learning just as a field, that ability to involve your sweepers is something that can be taken out of this event.
Absolutely. For Team Madden, I like this call. They know that they're in a really good position, and that another rock in the middle only could help MacDonald by setting up a better angle for them to get into the center. So a very mature call by Jenny Madden. And for Team MacDonald, it looks like Asia has tightened up the ice a little bit more. And for Sam, this is really just focus on executing. Focus on making this shot right now. Don't focus on what the scoreboard says or the shot you're making. Just focus on making the shot that's called. And a great executed shot.
It's nice to see that problem rock moved out, and I think that's a sigh of relief for Asia, knowing that she, depending on what Team Madden does, she has that chance to get in there and maybe outcount those 2 Yellowstones.
And for Team Madden, putting that nice tight center guard to guard those 2 Yellowstones that are in such a good spot, and that's Violet's goal here. And just to complement the sweepers, even though the weight is close or maybe even a little heavy, they stay close to the stone, because with curling you really don't know when a rock picks up a piece of debris or
just some curl.
Like
Yeah.
it just might jump on you and you didn't expect it. So it's really nice to see both teams staying really close to the stones and being ready to sweep.
Yeah, and the other thing I really like about that shot, Sam, thrown by Violet, is I really like that they took into consideration that a zone 1 guard is not their friend right now. Being a zone 3 guard is fine, but also there's nothing wrong with slipping in the house. It looks like we're seeing Sid sweep that rock thrown by Sam, and it looks like they're getting rid of that yellow stone.
It gets the job done.
Yeah, exactly.
Though you did want to move maybe 2 of those yellow stones at least away from the 4-foot. You do move that problem stone. And for Jenny, the goal here is to just make a nice tight center guard like Violet just threw.
Yeah, and I think just like what the result we saw from Violet, coming in top 12 isn't the end of the world. It's important, as there's, just like in curling, a lot of shots are line shots, and I think this guard that you see being thrown by Team Madden for the previous shot and this one, yes, if it comes into the house a foot or 2 deep, as long as it's blocking that line, that's really what the goal of the shot is.
I 100% agree with you. And Zafreen, with her head down, sweeping this stone into a good spot that we just have to compliment the athletes. Like, they haven't gotten a lot of ice time all across Ontario and all across Canada, even the world. A lot of curling clubs aren't open.
Yes.
So the fact that we're seeing this high execution level from all these teams and these great sweeping from all these teams in the first event, really, for most of these teams. So I just want to compliment all the athletes, all 8 men's teams and all 8 women's teams, for coming to Dundas Valley and being as safe as possible, but still getting to play the sport that we all enjoy. And for Asia, a big shot here. Jenny's guard just under curled.
Yeah.
And gives Asia an opportunity to make that hit and roll under, and you might not be shot, but you're finally getting an attempt to move those yellow stones that Zafreen put there, and you know that they're your problem stones.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing
It's going to be a big sweep here by
Zoe.
Zoe.
She's really, everything she has, she's putting into this rock and moving this. It's really close here.
It's a great shot.
No, it really is, and just
like we said,
moving them out of that scoring zone. Like, if you look at where both of those rocks were positioned, perfectly positioned by Zafreen and team. Like, now there's about a 3-foot scoring area. Before we were talking a matter of centimeters. Yeah. So that shot really opened things up, and now Team MacDonald has something in the house. Potentially a 2 could be set up depending on what Team Madden decides to do with that blue rock, and they are second shot, so it is taking that 3rd and 4th shot yellow stones out of play.
Yeah, for Team Madden, this hit, though it's open, isn't easy because there's 2 kind of catchers in the back of the house, right? So I like that she's taking. I like the ice she's taking. It tells me that she's probably throwing a lighter control weight. And a nose hit here is really good.
Yes, it really is.
It leaves your yellows in a really good spot where Asia's going to have to draw the 4-foot or make a tough hit. But just another compliment for Team MacDonald. They really stayed patient this end. They really made they made that peel, and now they finally got those yellow stones out of that top 4-foot, like you said. And though Madden hits this on the nose, you're still going to have a much better look at one than you did before.
Yeah. Oh, we're really seeing it curl on them out of nowhere almost. So, interestingly enough though, Sam, yes, they did jam. It works for them because they have that high guard that's in play, as well as where their shooter rolled to. It's making it really hard for Team MacDonald to access that first shot stone.
Yeah. Though they did jam on one of those catchers that we talked about. I like that Team MacDonald, they're saying, you know what, there is no shot for two.
Yeah.
Let's make sure
we get our one.
We get our one. And
yeah.
That's Sam already having the broom up, and Asia just telling her what she wants for ice, and now she's gonna go do her routine that she's been doing all game and really focus on drawing the button here.
And Sam, it's not like we haven't seen this from Asia MacDonald. It seems like we have experienced those clutch shots, and I'm really sure they're going to be close with this one. We've seen her draw almost full button. We've seen her draw good forefoot, and I have confidence in this shot for this team.
Absolutely. You really see the potential in this Team MacDonald. They're just graduating out of U18. You really see the potential in them, and they look like they're enjoying themselves on the ice, and that's all that matters.
Exactly, especially when it's the first competitive tournament
of the season. So a big sweep here by Zoe, which we've said all game, and the intensity in Sam and Asia really willing that stone into the forefoot, and it just comes up short.
And is it one yellow, Sam?
Yeah, one yellow. So for Team MacDonald going into this last end, yes, you're down 5, but you really want to focus on execution. You really want to focus on making 8 stones. And if you end up making Team Madden throw their last stone, that's an achievement in itself.
Oh, 100%. And I
really enjoy seeing the skips
converse, because
talk in a safe manner.
No, exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the curling community is all about coming together, and at the end of the day, you put the scoreboard aside, and we're all people coming together to play this great sport that we call curling, and it's great to see the camaraderie from opposing teams. Yes, they're out there doing their best to make the other team's life as difficult as possible, but they're still able to have a smile, have a chuckle, and that's great to see.
Yeah, and it's really good to see Team Madden being that more experienced team, that older team, really just talk to them, and maybe even talking about shots, and maybe even helping this younger team. And for Zafreen and for Violet, a big sweep, and it just comes up short.
Yeah.
So I think the trend for Team MacDonald has been drawing around that center guard.
Yeah, Sam, I think we actually saw a little bit of a pick there. It seemed to really take an abrupt turn, and so I think that's something that they need to be careful with, especially if they're going to keep using that that part of the ice.
Yeah, and I think that's just, we're in the 8th end of a 4-draw game and 4 draws on this ice.
Yeah.
I think that's just, especially because they've used this path a lot.
Very true.
And I know that's what you're getting at, is that the sweeper's got to really stay close to these stones. And a big sweep by Sam, and I noticed she just put her sweater on, and I'm thinking she probably wants to take it off after that.
I was just gonna say, Sam, I think those ladies are working very hard, but
it's a great sweep.
It really is, and I don't mind where that ends up. I think if I'm Team Madden, I'm looking at the scoreboard, and I think you should consider just in future games to have it dictate the calls that you're making. I think if I'm Team Madden, I'm up 5 points. I don't see anything wrong with removing that guard that Zafreen threw. But it looks like Team Madden really wants to take it to Team MacDonald, and that's just a theme that we have seen over the course of the whole round robin.
And I think it's also probably a comfort level. You know, Jenny probably knows that Zafreen's draw weight has been on par all game long.
Very true.
So why not put this in the top 4 foot? And it looks like this is trying to hit the brakes, and it's going to end in the back 4. So not an optimal spot, but I just think Jenny Madden knows her team. She knows that Zafreen has had great draw weight,
And
So
use that
I
to their
agree with you. Playing that peel on the yellow was probably the call scoreboard-wise.
Yeah.
But I like that Jenny knows her team and just knows that let's just play the draw. Zafrini, you've been making them all game long. And for Team MacDonald, I like the hit and roll just because it is in the forefoot, and your goal here is to score. But future reference, you have those staggered guards.
Yeah,
I think you really want to try to use those and make a draw.
Yeah, I don't mind the hit here because you don't want to get boxed out of that forefoot and have a lot of Madden stones kind of be there. But at the same time,
It's a good shot.
well, look at that. Now all of a sudden, because of that stagger, they're sitting two.
Yeah.
Or, pardon me, second and third shot.
Absolutely.
And now I think we're going to see Madden hit some of these stones. And I like this call. I think you're looking at the scoreboard and you're saying, now we just need to do the math. And it's not that crazy complicated kind of math. It's one of those subtract one, subtract one, subtract one.
That's the kind of math I like.
That's the kind of math we both like in this commentary booth.
For Team Madden, they've seen this path multiple times this game. They know what this intern's going to do, and for Isabel,
it's all about the hold here.
It's all about a big sweep by Violet, and Isabel's really encouraging her to keep it,
Yeah.
and that was a great sweep. Though she rolled out, mission accomplished for that shot.
You bring that blue one as fast as you can to that backboard, and you say one down.
Yeah, and for Team MacDonald, Asia must have heard us. She must have heard us because she wanted to hit that before, and now she's calling a nice freeze tap.
And I like that.
I just like the adaptiveness of this call. She realizes that I don't see as much as the rock as I did before, so I'm gonna play the draw, the freeze tap. And though a great sweep by Sam again, though that comes up light, that definitely is the tolerance that we've been talking about. That's kind of the skill gap you see in between U15 and U18 is the tolerance level, and that's a great tolerance.
Any rock is a good rock right now for Team MacDonald, and I have a strong feeling that they recognize that and know that throwing it heavy is not what to do here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Team Madden and for Isabel, it's really, I like that she's taking her time. She doesn't care about the scoreboard. She wants to make this shot.
Yeah.
And she knows that this is a great kind of practice shot almost, right? Because they haven't had a lot of ice time.
Yeah.
So a great sweep.
A great hold by
a great shot
Zafrini.
by Isabel.
And the rotation on that rock, considering the shot being thrown, is absolutely beautiful. I love to see those higher weight shots thrown a little bit crisper. I think one of the first athletes we see do that was Jill Officer. And it is really nice to see that the women are going after those rocks with heavy rotation and getting them to fly like we just saw.
Yeah, just a textbook of knowledge you are when it comes to curling.
I try my best for you, buddy. I try my best.
For Team MacDonald, it's really, like we said at the beginning of the end, let's focus on making 8 stones.
Yeah.
And another big sweep by Sam.
Yeah, Sam is doing a great job at holding that rock. Oh,
so
she's
good,
too
she's
strong.
getting called off.
Yeah, and maybe
I'd like to see them focus on rolling it right. Oh, great shot.
Yeah, they don't need to focus on the roll, Sam, if they've already figured it out.
Yeah. They said, Sam, it's mate. I don't need to roll it over.
Yeah, that's directly behind that yellow guard. And I think it'll be interesting to see what Team Madden does here. They signal for that come around, but I think, again, just reflecting back on this game maybe later, I think the run back is the call, and I like that. I like that they had that communication, and maybe Skipper was thinking, let's put one in there, and the rest of the team was saying, no, what, I really like the run here.
Yeah, and this exact scenario shows to the viewers at home that it's not just the skip that needs to know the strategy.
Yeah.
It's all 4 players, because the skip says, Jenny says, let's make this draw, and all 3 players in the front end are saying, no, let's play the run back. Scoreboard says run back.
Yep.
And their strategy book says run back. And that's great that the skip agrees with them, changes the shot, and though it wasn't made, they hit and roll into shot stone, and that's a great tolerance.
Oh, I don't know if they're shots, Sam, are they?
Well, they hit and roll into the rings, and that's a great tolerance. And just to update the viewers back home on the rest of the sheets, on sheet 1, you see a 8-3 lead for Team Solari over Team Beauchamp. And on sheet 4, you see a really close game, and 5-5 for Ramsey versus Smith. Smith does have hammer, but Ramsey did take a steal of 2 in the all-important 6th end. And on sheet 5, another close game between Madaw and Akers. And Madaw has a 5-3 lead over Akers, but Akers has hammer.
Just like I said previously, Sam, these ladies know how important this last draw is for them. That it can be the difference between making it into the championship draw versus being in the consolation. And knowing another great sweep. Knowing how competitive these ladies are, I have a feeling everyone at home knows where each team wants to be.
Absolutely.
So, and it's just quite apparent looking across the scoreboards.
And obviously, as conveners, we'd love to see all 8 teams in the championship pool. But it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, the math doesn't, we're not great at math, but we know it doesn't work like that. So
a great shot by Violet, hitting and rolling kind of under that top 12-foot stone. For Team MacDonald, they have a sensitive shot here, and Zoe is head down sweeping for Sam here.
Oh, it's close, Sam.
And they got a great shot hitting him. Yes, you roll out, and maybe that's the weight choice that they chose.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to just comment on, Sam, is I think it was a great shot. They got rid of it, and now they're sitting a point. But I think looking back, maybe a softer weight, a little more ice, kind of finesse it in there. We know how good of a finesse team MacDonald is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that would have been the way, but they got rid of it, and that's great to see.
Yeah, and for Jenny, it's really important, though, Team Madden has won the game, right?
Mathematically it's
MacDonald is out. But
yes,
for Jenny, and going into tomorrow, she's going to want to make these last 2 stones confidence-wise going into that championship round.
I completely agree, Sam. I can't stress enough how every rock matters, and yes, the scoreboard says, and the math works out to be that there isn't a possibility for Team MacDonald to win, but both teams are still putting every rock they can in every position possible to get as many points as possible.
Yeah, and you see Team Madden, all 4 players are fully invested in making the shot. And though this does hit and roll out,
I think it might have grabbed or something.
We might have seen maybe a sharper... We haven't seen that side in a couple events.
I don't really know what happened.
So that might have done maybe a little bit of a grab.
Yeah.
But for Team
MacDonald
here,
make the most of the opportunity.
Make the most of the opportunity. Split the rings. Let's get our multiple points. Yes, we're going to lose, but the scoreboard's not going to say 6-2 or 7-2. It's going to say 7-4 if they can get this deuce. And for a new young team, that's a great confidence booster going into the consolation round.
Yeah, and Sam, I just wanted to let the viewers know at home, we do have our first final of the night. It looks like we saw Team Solari steal it 3 points in the 7th end to take the win over Team Beauchamp 11-3.
Big win for Team Solari.
It'll be interesting to see how that works out come once we receive all the other results, Sam. I wonder if a win or a loss here or there could do something for Team Beauchamp.
And I think for the parents back home, we'll keep the live stream on, even if when this game is over, just so when all sheets 4 and sheets 5 are done,
yeah,
we can update the teams back home on how the playoffs are done.
Yeah, how they're structured.
Yeah. And for the men's side and the women's side, the way the system works is the playoffs aren't determined until all 16 teams are done round robin.
Yeah. So I think, I believe with the Solari win to I'm just gonna double check here, just a moment. With a Solari win, it looks like they've locked up a place in the championship round, which we like to see. A 3-1 is good enough to book their place, and they also have a really good shootout score in comparison to other teams that they're really close with, so that should bode well for them.
And we see a miss from Jenny Madden, and maybe they just got cut up on that inside out, little bit straighter side there, and that Jenny's gonna keep that in the memory vault for tomorrow.
Yes, because you never know when you're gonna be back on the sheet,
Absolutely.
Sam. Yeah.
So for Team MacDonald, you get your multiple points that you've been asking for. And if this was the 5th, 6th end, I'd be arguing about playing that split for 3.
Yes, I saw, and I think, and I like the call, given the circumstances, to just get your 2 and finish with a multiple score, but I agree completely. If we're talking 5th, 6th end here, I think you're going to see a coaching intervention timeout, play that split, because that rock's almost in the house. And like I tell you, Zoe and Sid are doing everything they can to move those rocks into scoring position. So
this looks really close.
Yeah,
the way the rock is curling.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Like we need to hit the brakes a little bit, and that's a great shot and a great 2 points.
That's a great way to end this game, Sam.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
I just enjoy that both teams just finishing the game. Though our rules in Junior Slam Series is when you're mathematically impossible, you're supposed to shake. But the last game of the round robin, both teams kind of agreed to keep playing and really focus on making these last 4 to 6 shots for both teams. And I love to see MacDonald scoring their first multiple points of the game. So for Team MacDonald being that U15 team that was a U15 graduated into U18, that they noticed that they've taken a very experienced U18 team to the last end. You got a steal, you got a multiple points with Hammer. There's a lot of positives for this Team MacDonald going forward into the Constellation tomorrow.
No, Sam, I really think there is. And if we look at this game kind of chunking it into 2 parts, I think if we look at that first part, the first 4 ends, Team MacDonald was in striking distance. 2 points away. Yes, you'd maybe like to see it a bit closer, but that's just a multiple score. That's just a missed shot here or there. And then as it progressed, Madden, the experience of Team Madden prevailed, as you saw steals in the 5th, 6th, and 7th end. But it's nice to see in that 8th that didn't phase Team MacDonald and that they were able to put that multiple score up.
Absolutely. And I love to see how close of a game it was in those first 4 ends, like you just explained, is that you really did see the experience of Team Madden kick in the last 4.
Yeah.
They really started to narrow in on execution and tolerance and really put the pressure on MacDonald. And for Team MacDonald, they're going to learn that in the next couple of years. They're going to be the veteran team in a couple of years, and that's just how the evolution of curling goes. That's how you grade up, and when Team Madden goes into U20 next year or the year after, you're going to see them kind of learn too, and that's the beautiful part of our sport. And 2 very close games left on the ice.
No, Sam, that's a great point. I think if you're just because I see, oh, okay. Can we get the ice? Can we get the camera pointed out on the sheet 2 ice? Because I just want to say that that's just great to see in our sport. It's great to see these 8 young ladies coming together after a long 2-hour, 15-minute game and just huddle together, take that picture, capture that memory, especially for Team MacDonald. You see her walking off the ice, talking to Isabel, talking to Jenny, talking to Violet, and it just speaks to the quality of friendship that these 2 teams have. And I wanted to shout out for the camera crew. Thank you for being able to show us that. But it's just great to see, and that's the kind of thing that the curling community needs when we're in the middle of a global pandemic, showing that, yes, we're wearing masks, and that's not something that you would traditionally see. These teams still can come together for the joy of the game as well as the camaraderie of competition.
Yeah, and for a long time in junior curling, as you saw it get more and more competitive, you saw the social aspect kind of drift away a little bit. You didn't see teams do that team picture that we just saw.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to see, though COVID, we're trying to be as safe as possible and as distant as possible. It's really nice to see these teams be friends as soon as the game's over.
And the other thing that needs to be mentioned again is they're all wearing masks.
Yeah.
They're all being distant as much as possible, and everything that they touch is sanitized by our crew here. So yes, they might be together for a quick 30-second photo, whatnot, but the spirit of the game is what the highlight is for that game.
Yeah, I enjoyed that picture a lot, and I'd really like to see that come back into play in these junior levels.
Yes.
Though junior is more competitive because there is a Worlds in U20, there is a Nationals in U18. It's really important to remember that you're playing the sport to have fun.
Yes.
And it really looked like both those teams, Team Madden and Team MacDonald, though they're wearing masks, you see that they're smiling. You see that they're having fun and talking to each other. And it's really nice to see. And you see that across all 16 teams here. I think just every team here is just really happy that they're on the ice.
And they're really happy. I feel like they should also be really happy with their quality of play. I remember a year or 2 ago when I was out there on the ice, and our first event was not that good, to be quite blunt. And to be able to have this first event, have these teams come out and throw to their abilities right out the gate, I think it just speaks to the depth of curlers we have at the U18 level in our province.
And I also think it speaks to the coaches. So shout out to all the coaches here that we wouldn't be able to play U18, U20 without them. They really put time and effort, especially coaches that aren't related to you. Like, they really put time and effort into you improving your game. Even if your coach is your dad, they really put time. They get you to study the game. They get you to watch film that these teams, after this event is over, gets to rewatch these live streams and learn from what, maybe not learn from what we're saying.
Yeah.
But
well, I wouldn't cut ourselves that short, Sam, but I agree with what you're saying.
Just learn from the opportunity that they didn't have before, because we didn't have live stream before this year.
No, exactly. And I think as well, any live stream, and I think this just speaks to what the Junior Slam series tries to promote, we're looking for that learning environment. And if there, at any point in time, I want to offer this especially to all of the teams watching the live stream here, at any time, if you're saying, I wonder why Sam said this, or I wonder why Ryan thought that, feel free, when it's appropriate to do so, from 6 feet away wearing a mask. I know, a little weird, but whenever it's appropriate to do so, don't be afraid to come up to us and ask, hey, so I saw this scenario, and I was wondering if we could just quickly, in our minds, go through it together.
Absolutely.
And spending that minute or two here or there just going over strategy or talking about end scenarios, like, that's what the sport's all about, Sam.
I 100% agree with you. just watching the 2 sheets that we have left, a very tight game on sheet 4 between Ramsey and Smith. As I said, it is tied 5-5, and they are on the last couple stones in the 7th end.
Yeah, a very tight game being thrown on sheet 4. Smith was just stealing their way through the first half, and then all of a sudden Ramsey wasn't having any of it, took 3 and then stole 2.
We talk about having 2 halves of the game.
Yes.
Like we've explained the Team Madden versus Team MacDonald game. Team Smith really owned those first 4 ends. Getting those steals and being up 5-0. But this just shows you that Team Ramsey never gave up. They really focused on execution, and they get their 3 and 5, and they get their steal of 2 and 6 with that all-important 6th end that we talk about.
No, I know, and I think it's hard to tell what the result of both sheets 4 and sheets 5 will be. But I think if you do happen to see a Ramsey W put on the board, I think that steal in 6 could be the turning point.
I absolutely agree with you. All the 8 teams, all 8 women's teams, all 8 men's teams, you can just see how close they all are, because all of these games, yes, there's been some blowouts, but all of these games have been close. And shout out to the camera crew for moving these cameras robotically.
Sam, they're out there moving it manually. Of course they're moving it robotically. Come on now.
Okay.
But no, it's great.
Don't need to be snooty.
Come on, we've been up for a while. But anyways, it's great. We'll be able to see. It looks like the camera crew is willing to maybe rotate some of the camera angles. If it's possible, camera crew, is it possible to see the other end of the ice?
No, yeah.
Okay,
it
so
just takes time, right?
Yeah.
You just need to be patient, like Team MacDonald was.
Yes,
in that
Team
game.
MacDonald was very patient, and I have many lessons to learn from them.
And just to go play by play, you've seen Team Ramsey. This is their last skip stone in the 7th end. They're trying to navigate a port, and it looks like they have made a run back to where Team Smith is only sitting 1.
Yes.
Which we have the sight of seeing above the rings, just to update everyone at home. So Team Smith is sitting 1, and they're talking about how do we get in there for our 2nd point, because yes, we did give up that steal of 2 and 6, but how do we get that deuce and 7 and take that 2-point lead going to the 8th end?
Yes, and for those tuning into the stream for the first time, on sheet 4, they're playing the 7th end, but on sheet 5, they're playing the 8th end. So what we've done is staggered the teams, and we've seen a little bit slower pace of play this evening. The ladies have told us that tomorrow they're going to be a lot better. They all came up and pinky promised to us. So
we didn't touch their pinky.
No, proverbially speaking.
Yes.
But so it looks like Team Madaw, is that? Yeah, Team Madaw make that hit. And I believe
that was a hit for the win.
Yes, I think that's broom taps, as they call it now, Sam.
Yeah, so team makers broom tapping.
I think run out of stone.
And run out of stone, so they can't get 3 to tie the game. And so Team Madaw takes that win 6-3.
Yeah.
And back to sheet 4, the tightest game on the ice. Team Smith has decided to play a hit and roll off their own into the 4-foot, and I absolutely think this is the call, and it's a great call, a very mature call.
Yeah, I really do like this call, Sam, and I think if you're Team Smith right now, you're looking to stop the bleeding. Points are great right now, and it looks like they're sitting at 1 point.
Yeah.
So if you can get this hit and roll, get that deuce, it's really close here.
A big sweep, and it just
will it sit?
Trying to hit the brakes, and
it's hard to tell.
It looks like it's 1 yellow.
But Sam, if I'm Team Smith right now, and we get 1 yellow, I'm okay with that. because all of a sudden we stopped that pendulum swing, and it's never wrong, like we've been saying, to put a point on the board, and it's, even though that wasn't a fully made shot, it's still good to get that 1 point up. So that means that Team Smith is leading 6-5, playing the last end, and Team Ramsey has hammer. Team Ramsey isn't actually Team Ramsey, being skipped by Keaton. Thompson? I thought it was Chisholm or Johnson.
No, it's Thompson.
Johnson. So we were all wrong.
We were both wrong, and which makes us even. Yeah. So for Team Smith, I like this center guard. Though you are up 1,
Mm-hmm.
in the 5 rock rule, being up 1 isn't safe.
Yes.
So playing the center guard, being aggressive, as we saw Team Smith earlier today, kind of their play, and same with Team Ramsey.
Yeah.
And so that's probably why you've seen a bit longer of a game, because both teams probably playing with a lot of rocks in play. We haven't seen the whole game.
Yeah.
But when we have glanced over, they have had a decent amount of rocks in play, which has probably slowed the game down a little bit, because that just gives the skips a lot of angles to look at.
Yeah, exactly. And I think...
And a great executed guard.
No, a really nice guard there. And I think it'll be really interesting to see how these teams play the strategy of the last end. I think if you look at the scoreboard, you see a bunch of single points by Team Smith. But then if you look at the scoreboard from Team Ramsey's perspective, they're a little more efficient, scoring larger sums in shorter periods of time. So, yeah.
Just to update everyone at home, this is...
Oh, wow. This is a big game.
This is a big game. And it looks like Team Smith's shootout is better than Team Ramsey's, which means in Junior Slam Series we go by shootout first. So, Team Ramsey is wanting to win and go 2-2, Team Smith will be 2-2 as well.
Yes, and comparing to the rest of the win-loss records, it looks...
We're not going to confirm anything, because that's what the app is for.
Yeah, because we're just two guys sitting in front of a screen talking to you on the internet.
Yeah, and Stephen Orr has made an incredible app here, and really has
it takes the thinking out of it.
The Junior Slam series to what it is.
Yeah.
And a big sweep by Haley to get by the center guard. And though they rubbed, she hasn't given up on it, like we've seen by all the teams here this weekend. It's great to see the effort that they're putting in.
No, and it's great to see that you're sticking with the rock. All you young sweepers out there, do not stop following the rock until it stops.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we have a little bit of a different approach to sweeping during this global pandemic we're living in. But at the same time, it just speaks to how dialed in these teams are. And it speaks to why this game is only 1 point difference, Sam.
And as we saw when we commentated over Team Ramsey's game, a very aggressive approach. And
yes.
Some teams would have probably played the hit and roll behind the center, and I like that. You know what? They're confident in their draw weight, so they decided to play the draw around the center.
No, I was...
And though it overcurled, the weight was really good.
No, I was just going to say that, Sam. I think the one thing I like to see, even if it's a bit of an unorthodox strategy, is consistency. And Keaton and how her approach to curling, it's been nothing but consistent.
Yeah.
Even though it might not be your textbook approach.
It's their textbook approach.
Exactly.
It's their playbook, and they're sticking to it, and it's good to see that consistency like you're talking about. And for Team Smith, you really want to put this in a good spot. About top 4, top 8 foot, above the tee line, and in a perfect world buried.
Yeah.
And a big sweep here.
By Nicole. Nicole's really trying to push it behind that top 12 foot. Or put it top 12 foot behind that guard.
Even though they are up 1, I like that tolerance.
Yeah, it just speaks to, again, it's just that's the playbook of these two teams, is I don't expect anything but every rock in play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the coaches are looking at me laughing, saying, oh man, maybe some hits would be nice here and there.
They won't be laughing tomorrow morning.
No.
Tomorrow, as we've said, we've had 2 hour and 15 minutes for the game. So these ladies and these two teams are going to have to speed up for tomorrow. But so is all 16 other teams that are playing tomorrow. This is the first event. We're really trying to get them to focus on playtime, because when you do play those provincial playdowns next year or even this year, if it runs, they are timed.
Yes.
And when your time hits 0, you do not get to throw another stone.
No, I know, Sam, and I think that might be something that some of these teams encounter come tomorrow. When we shrink that gameplay time down to 2 hours and 15 minutes, the onus is on the front end. The onus is it's on the whole team to be ready to throw, to be decisive with their shot calling, and really get the game moving. And I feel that maybe it being a later game, in the fourth game that these ladies are playing, maybe there's just a little bit of passiveness potentially. Maybe not passiveness, but just slowing down a little.
That works for Team Smith.
Yeah.
They make a split. Yellow is now sitting 2. And for Team Ramsey, they're attempting this draw. And we haven't seen much of Sheet 4 and none on the live stream. But it's really nice to see the consistency of Rob Matheson's ice. And that this Sheet 3 side seems to be curling quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting that it is moving that much, because I was talking with Rob and he wasn't 100% sure about what would be going on with not having Sheet 3 in play. Obviously, we don't have it in play because we want to try to do our best to keep distance between players, but at the same time, he just wasn't sure what to expect. But as
a great sweep by Abby.
Yeah, and as we see this rock being directed in by Abby, it's doing nothing but curling, which is what you want.
Mm-hmm. So though they probably wanted that top 4, top 8, you are shot rock, and for Ramsey, your goal is 2.
Yes.
And I'm sure the coaches know that if this end ends in a tie, it will be a draw to the button for the win. We're not playing an extra end here, as our rules say in the Junior Slam series.
And the whole, or a majority of the thinking behind that, Sam, is that we want to give the appropriate ice time, the appropriate time to ice makers and cleaning crew to sanitize everything, make sure the ice is in the best possible state it could be for these athletes.
Another great sweep by
Nicole. Nicole is getting her money's worth in terms of sweeping. We've seen her before today. We've seen her before this game and during this game, and she's head down sweeping away.
Yeah. And for Team Ramsey, your shot stone. I said that right.
Good job. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Keaton cannot take any more ice. Unless
good point.
Unless they pull
Kibo
and
pardon me, yeah,
and go up the sheet like he did earlier today.
Yeah.
That's about a max ice you can take. So
from the T line, yeah.
And it looks like it is moving in towards the center.
Yeah, it's great to see that curl, especially in the 8th end.
That's exactly the ice that needed to be taken, because if that rock is top 4 foot, it's going to curl a little more too.
Yeah.
So lots of ice, and I enjoy that. I enjoy very swingy ice, and Team Smith taking max ice as well.
All right, we're seeing
a big shot here for Haley.
Yeah, she's freezing to that back one, eh, Sam?
Yes.
So line's looking close.
And a big sweep here to hold the stone by Megan.
Yeah, it's and now she's
switching it to the curl side, as I said that. Great shot. Great team shot.
No, Sam, I want to outline the communication there. You saw the skip. You saw Smith padding on the ice where she wanted it, and you saw the sweepers adjust, and oh, it needs to curl, so I'll make it curl. And that's what you like to see.
Yeah, a big shot by Haley there. Obviously a big team shot, but that really shrinks your scoring area. And for Keaton, she's going to want to try and play that delicate back 8 weight, which looks like she's calling backline-ish weight, to try and get that hit and roll under. Because that yellow is a piece buried.
Yes.
And you guys didn't hear it because our mics were muted, but the coach is urging the sweepers to get off. And just over curls.
The one time that players shouldn't listen to their coach, by the sounds of it. What do you have to say about that, mister? It picked. Yes, my bad. My young eyes obviously did not see that slight pick.
In his defense, you do wear glasses.
Yeah, I know.
For Team Smith here, this is beyond max ice. I believe Haley's broom is on the sheet 3.
I honestly wouldn't mind her taking edge of 12 on sheet 3 to really make sure that I think that would be an unprecedented move in the curling universe.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how it reacts because she is on that line.
Yeah,
so
great camera view by the tech guys to really get a zoom in on how the angles look. That Yellowstone just biting the back of the button there.
Yeah.
And for Team Smith, I believe her goal, it would be a really good shot to put this top 4 half buried. But safe call, play the guard, and Team Ramsey's going to have to make an in-off or a run back. So it'll be interesting to see where this rock ends.
Yeah, the rock, it looks...
Big sweep by Nicole here to get this over the hog line.
Yeah, Nicole is throwing the kitchen sink at that rock, trying to get it over the hog line.
A big sweep and it just comes up short. And for Team Ramsey, your goal is the same shot you just called. Play the backline tap, try to get the inside roll, and don't listen to the coach this time.
And if you learn anything from the coach, keep it clean. Because then, when he says that you need to get off it, and then he can't say that it picked. So you really got to keep those rocks clean. Give no excuse to your coaches.
All jokes aside, we don't always play 100% behind the glass.
Yeah.
But usually about 95.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Keaton settling in the hack here. Big shot here.
Yeah, this is a shot that could determine the outcome of the game.
And another big sweep. And as we said throughout the MacDonald Madden game, these sweepers for the first event are in great sweeping form.
Yeah.
And this is just warping into the center and a great shot by Team Ramsey.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I would say that Ramsey is in a great position to maybe score multiple here.
Yeah, and if you're Team Smith, you're really focusing on this next shot. You want to make the corner freeze, or if not, be aggressive and play the hit. In my mind, play for the draw of the button for the win. Corner freeze here, and if you do miss light and make a guard, how does Team Ramsey get their deuce? They would have to in off that side yellow stone.
We love to see the good old Jen Jones off the sideboards in there, but I like
textbook of knowledge.
Yes, I tell you, but I
You're absolutely right. Smith does not want to tie. Their goal here to make the hit and stick, sit to, and to force Ramsey into a tough shot on her last one.
It's all about applying pressure, Sam. And
Yeah.
I think with these two aggressive game styles, it's been nothing but pressure. Ever since the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th end, it's just been
Probably
pressure.
first.
Yeah.
We
Sure.
didn't get to see, but
Yeah, we'll say the first.
how aggressive these two teams are.
Well, we've seen both of them play,
Yeah,
so
yeah, so we can just assume.
Sure, let's go with that.
I like the broom. It looks like they're playing a hack weight hit here. Though we can't hear what they're saying. That looks to me what it is. And you don't need to eliminate this blue stone, but just get it out of the 4-foot. So let's see what happens. It looks like it's going to be a big sweep by Nicole here.
Megan, yeah.
Megan, yes.
Oh, called off. Will it warp in time?
Coaches are urging it to. Hits the blue.
Makes the double tap double.
Yeah, and just the overview, it looks like it's going to be a double for 3.
Oh, Sam, I didn't. Sam, I think you might be right.
At least the hit and stick for 2, and all you do need is 2 points. I'm not sure who second stone is, and it looks like they're looking at it, but my angle from being this far away, it does look like blue is second shot, and we're getting some head nods from coaches.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be an open hit. I don't think you do need to make the double. I think you just need to hit and stick.
But do you make the double for glory, Sam? These women have been on the ice for approaching 2 hours and 45 minutes. They're leaving it all out there. I like the nose hit, but I don't mind to see the double either.
You got some glares from the coaches there.
I know.
Yeah. I think for Team Ramsey, Keaton's just gonna want to make the hit and stick. I believe blue is second. I'm about 70% sure blue is second, so that's kind of my quote for the
70%.
70% sure.
It's definite. I know it's hard to see on the angle at home, but looking at the overview or the overhead, it's very close.
Yeah. So for Keaton, her job is to make the hit and stick. But as we talk about tolerance all the time, if you do hit half that Yellowstone, you have that catcher to the left.
No, exactly, and I think that just gives a little bit more confidence to the thrower right now.
And looks like a head down sweeping like we've seen these teams do time and time again.
Oh, it's close.
And they don't want to get stuck in between both shots, and they don't. So definitely one blue, and we'll see what Team Smith and we'll see what Haley and Abby decide. And no doubt this game will come down to a measure. If you're looking at it 2 or 3 times, that's exactly what I would do. So it looks like Haley decides, we're going to measure. This is for the win. Let's make sure we don't kick it.
Yes. No, and that's I think Sam, that's a great point for younger curlers watching this stream potentially. It is the Vice's duty. See, look, no, but they're listening. Just look, they're slowly making their way out of the house, it is the Vice's responsibility to measure those stones. And we see the hug for emotional support. We love to see that between Savannah and Skipper Keaton.
Always exciting for a measure. Maybe not for the parents back home, but for the commentating,
it keeps
I'm
it close.
Excited. I'm excited. And it's a 3-way measure. You don't see that very often.
Sam, where are you putting your money?
I am not putting my money on anything.
Oh.
And it looks like they're not going to measure the third stone because it was blue. Oh, they're going to.
Oh,
I'm a little confused, but
they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And it's blue. So
blue.
Keaton makes the shot for the win. Team Ramsey wins 7-6. And what a comeback for Team Ramsey.
Out of nowhere, you look at the first 4 ends and you think about what happened. And then all of a sudden the coach for Team Ramsey called a timeout in the 5th end. And I think that really was the turning point for Team Ramsey. Got on their high horses and that's what you care to see.
And just to update for the standings back home, we don't know the matchups for tomorrow, but we do know the standings and what they end. And just to bring up the schedule for tomorrow, the first men's playoff draw is at 8 a.m. starting time, and that will be our next live stream. And you can go out and go ahead and read.
Yeah, so the way that it's set up for the men is Team Stratton is ranked first with a perfect record, 4-0.
On the men's side.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is going to be all from the men's side. Ranked second, you're going to see Team Murray with a 3-1 record. And Team Murray is edging out Malima at a 3-1 record, but Murray has a better shootout score, putting Murray second and Malima third. Jones is in the championship round, I believe.
To be determined.
To be determined, tentatively.
Yeah.
But they're in the fourth position, and we're talking the difference between, I think that's 7 centimeters.
That is 7 centimeters.
So that draw to the button is really critical in determining where these teams are lined up. So Jones is in fourth with a 2-2 record. Tentatively. Stockton is in fifth tentatively with a 2-2 record. Team Hastings is in sixth place with a 1-3 record, just like Team Mayville in seventh place with a 1-3 record, and Team Dobson is 0-4 with the eighth place. But they all get to come back tomorrow.
Absolutely. And for the women's side, you see Team Madden with that perfect record. We saw them in the live stream just that last game at 4-0, and Team Solari with a 3-1 record with a slightly better shootout than Team Madaw. And Team Madaw is sitting in third with a 3-1 shootout. And tentatively speaking, we have Team Smith at a 2-2 record, but has a slightly better shootout than Team Ramsey. And Team Ramsey is sitting fifth right now, but that's tentatively. For sixth place, you see Team Beauchamp at a 1-3 record, and you see Team Akers at a 1-3 record in seventh place, and you see Team MacDonald with an 0-4 record in eighth place. And we're going to see all of these 16 teams tomorrow, one championship pool and consolation pool.
Yeah, and I think, Sam, one important takeaway from these standings is how vital that draw to the button is. And it really is almost like an extra win in the pocket of those teams who really went out and executed their best.
Absolutely.
So I think it just speaks to that. And I think the internet has maybe heard enough of us.
Absolutely.
So
I know I have.
Likewise, Sam. So from Dundas Valley Golf and Country Club.
Golf and Curling Club.
Curling Club. Your founding members of local Led Zeppelin kazoo cover band, Sam Steep on the lead vocals, Ryan Hahn playing the kazoo.
Thank you everyone for tuning into the stream, and we will see you at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning for our men's draw.
Bye for now.
Bye now.